This video makes some very interesting points. I like the part about you stabbing the cell and letting its organelles spill out, into the salt and water solution you made, and then saying, hey, they would never get back together and form that cell again. Yeah, you are right. They wouldn't do that. Same ways if you stab yourself in the stomach and pulled your heart out and then said, well, I could never possibly be restored. Correct. The reason why if you stab a cell, the reason why it wouldn't come back together is because you've basically removed the lifeline of the cell, which is its mitochondria. I mean, they're all important. Even the cell membrane is extremely important. It keeps everything together. But once you get rid of the mitochondria, and once you get rid of the energy creating molecule, not the molecule, I'm sorry, the energy creating organelle, the organelle that creates ATP, you've pretty much killed the cell. It's never going to get back together. And of course, you go into the Miller and Urey experiment, and you say that just because they created a bunch of amino acids doesn't mean that these amino acids could ever form cells. And you couldn't be any more wrong. But just like every other creationist, you believe that everything needs to happen all of a sudden. Amino acids just need to hang out there in the ocean and then come together and form cells, and that's just not how it happened. Miller and Urey, the product of their experiment was things like formic acid and urea, a very, very important molecule to the early life, and amino acids. They created two types, but there's 20 essential amino acids, and it's not, in the realm of impossibility that between by the time these primitive amino acids were formed, and by the time the first cells were formed, that other amino acids could not have been formed this way. And by this way, I mean amino acids did not polymerize into proteins in the oceans. The theory is that they polymerized on the shores of these ancient oceans in these primordial pools, where they were left out to dry in the sun, basically, when the tide moved out. And what happened is these amino acids, they underwent a heat reaction with each other, basically, and they polymerized together, and they formed very simple proteins, monomers. These monomers also polymerized basically into polymers, more complex proteins. Proteins gave rise to primitive cells, through the creation of certain organelles. Organelles being, at this point, self-sustaining, long organic compounds. And your proto-cell was basically nothing more than a lot of these different types of organelles coming together, being surrounded by a phospholipid bilayer shell, and you have your cell. That's all I'm going to get into in this video. That's all I really need to get into. I've pretty much heard enough from this quote-unquote professor, or whatever he is. He's extremely misguiding. Did not really address the theory properly, but that's okay. I plan on making a longer video explaining how the first cells were formed. Explaining in more detail the Miller and Urey experiment, what exactly they did, what exactly they simulated, and yeah. Sorry if this video was extremely crappy. It probably is. It's my first video, and you won't even get to see my pretty face, but that's okay.